My name is Nyalinglat. I'm 26 and I am from, well, where I'm from is a little bit complicated. So the place where I'm from doesn't really recognize me. I was born in a little refugee camp called Pinyadub on the outskirts of Ethiopia and South Sudan. And I immigrated here when I was around 5 with my family. So where I'm from, when I tried to get a citizenship in Ethiopia, I was a little bit rejected. And they called me a ward of the United Nations. So I like to think maybe I'm a product of many peaceful countries coming together rather than the product of war.
Tell me about your birthday. I think one of the first things I learned about you is that you have 2.
I do. I have 2 birthdays. So because I was born in a refugee camp, I never had any birth certificate. There was nobody to give a birth certificate to me when I was born. And so I was born December 21st, 1997. I'm a Sagittarius. But because I came into the country as a refugee with no birth certificate, the agents at the gate kind of guesstimate. So they kind of take in other factors. You kind of look around this age. And if there's also translation problems, they'll also do that as well. And so typically immigrants or refugees will get January 1st or July 1st, which is either New Year's or Canada Day. Yeah, so me, my mother, my sister all have January 1st. And the twins have their own birthdays, but everybody else is a New Year's baby. Yeah, so I was born in a refugee camp, so there was no hospital. I was actually born in a hut that my mother built. The reason that she told me was because the tents weren't really a good place for giving birth. A lot of the children, a lot of the mothers that would give birth at the camp, a lot of the kids would get diseases, and a lot of children would die and pass that way. And so she didn't want that to happen to me, and so she got some people to help her out, and they built a hut on the outskirts of the camp, and that's where she gave birth to me.
Wow.
So me and my family came to Canada in 2002. It was a few months after the twins were born, my youngest 2 twin sisters, and they're actually the reason why we're here. We were actually supposed to end up in America, but there were a lot of things that got in the way of that. And somebody from Canada was actually giving out Canadian papers, and they saw the twins and they were like, oh my God. And so they gave us papers to come here because they were just so small and tiny. And he actually ended up escorting us all the way to Canada, out of the camp to the capital of Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, and then on the flight here, helped us with all their paper and everything after hearing my mother's story. I was super young. I was 5, 6 years old around that time. It was a very weird adjustment period. As just a little kid, a lot of it I actually don't even, a lot of it I blocked out just because that first year was so weird. But I do remember my first time landing in Canada. And I remember it just the air was so cold, just hit you in the face. It was spicy on your face. Your cheeks were hot, but cold at the same time. And it felt so nice and fresh. You blow and you get, mist. And that was just so funny to me, I never really thought I'd go down this path in life. Surprisingly, I feel looking back on it now, there were always these little things that, happened that led me to where I am. And a lot of the times these little things would kind of manifest all at once in different areas of my life that kind of pushed me to go towards one direction, if that makes sense. So for example, at the time, I was working at my local Chinese food place, and I was a lot bigger than what I am now. And this woman named Rita came in. And Rita, she is her own character. She is beautiful, funny, full of energy. She used to have her own design shop in New York, and she lived on this mansion on the hill that we thought was like haunted. Like there used to be like urban legends about her house. We didn't even know who lived there. All the local neighborhood kids. So when she invited me up one time, she was just coming to pick up her Chinese food. She never actually came to pick it up. She always ordered, but she came to pick it up today. And she was just like, I want you to model something for me. I'm making custom pants and suits for some businesswoman, and I want you to come model some for me. And I was just like, oh, well, like not me. She's like, no, don't worry. I was just like, well, I'm a little bigger. She's like, I can customize it. Like she just would not take no for an answer. So she invited me to her place, and when I showed up, these big gates, I was like, oh my God, this is the house that we always gossiped about as kids. And like on Halloween, we would always just avoid it because we're like, ah. And like daring each other to like go press the gate or like just stupid stuff like that. So I show up to the gate with all of these like preconceived notions in my head, and I'm just like, oh, and she's like, come in. And she's just ended up being the kindest human, and she was a large factor of why I even thought that I could pursue modeling. That was kind of a wake-up call for me, and I kind of just said, you know what, let me just drop everything and let me go. And so I was like, I need to get out of the small town, I need to get out of the small world, the small mindset that I put myself in, and I want to pursue what I want to do. I've always been interested in acting because I used to do a little bit of theater back in the day, just a little bit. There's this one teacher, Miss Brown Evans, and she was always so kind, and she kind of always made me just dream a little bit. And so when I came to Vancouver, I was just like I can dream a lot of it, you know? Like I could really go wild with this stuff. I've been actually big my whole life, believe it or not, because even in the refugee camp, I was big. My mother, my mom, she tells me this story. She says one time, because I was her firstborn, this is before my teeny tiny, like my baby sister came along. So I was about 2 years old. And she says in the camp, like, everybody's so fascinated with you. My mom had a little bit more of an education. So even though she was like forced to do a lot of stuff after the war and, you know, by her first husband and things, she still had an education. So when she came to the camp, she was able to use that to help orphans. She actually has a certificate by the United Nations. And so she's super proud of it, and I'm proud of her. And so she used to help orphans that came into the camp by themselves, because sometimes parents would die along the way, and it's just a sad reality. And so she would help these children. With this money, she was able to make US dollars. So she could buy powdered milk. And so I was guzzling it down. I was like the only fat baby in the refugee camp. Can you imagine? People used to just gawk at me, stare. She says, she's fat, her fingers are thick. And this one time, there was a German photographer group that came into the camp. They were filming for some sort of nature magazine or something. And they were documenting us, just, everyday refugee life, South Sudanese refugees in Ethiopia, and they were just obsessed with me, she said. They were just obsessed. So actually, when you think about it, I've been modeling for a long time. When you think about it, because she always stoked. She's like, you're in some old German magazine somewhere. Because they just would snap pictures of me everywhere. Because I was so big, and they were just like, how? How is she so big? And so I've been big all my life. And when we came to Canada, I got a lot bigger. And it first started because food's always been a comfort for me, always. I have what's known as food anxiety. And it was a very foreign term to me until I went to therapy, intense trauma therapy after graduating high school. And food anxiety is what happens when you experience intense food scarcity. So it's when I had food, it's eat it all down because you don't know when you're gonna get it next. When I wasn't accepted by the other kids at school, the other kids in my elementary school, because I didn't speak the way that they spoke. I spoke with a little bit of an accent back then. I looked different. I'm obviously very dark. Food became comfort. It became my friend. Keep in mind, I was also bullied this whole time for being fat as well. So I was very self-conscious. I could just go to the gym, but it made me very self-conscious because that's where a lot of the people that I kind of avoided like were, or like maybe like some of the popular kids in school were, or like maybe like the jocks were, the big people that already had muscles or that were already very tiny. And so I just kind of would like I would literally just like play heavy metal music, like Swedish death metal. And I just like put on a playlist because it would just drown everything out. People thought like I was so angry all the time because I just had this bitch face, just like heavy metal music in my ears, like, but nobody knows. I just like, and I'm just like, okay, now like just get through. Like this little kid in my head is just like, okay, like just do it. Like don't look at anyone, don't make eye contact. Like just sweating, like, like got me an anxiety attack. And I just got through it. Our first show was pretty awesome. And I really like the fact that you were so like engaging. Like you were always like, yo, you know, what do you think about this lighting? What do you think about that? This tone, that tone. And I thought that was really awesome from a model standpoint, because sometimes photographers don't like to do that. They're very like, don't look at my camera. You know what I mean? Like very like, oh, secrets, you know? And it's just like, and you always get the best photos when you're having fun and having a fun time and being able to relax. That shoot was like really great, but it just involved me being very comfortable with my body and like the different poses that I was in. Like if you've been big your whole life, if you've been fat your whole life, and like being skinny for a small amount of years isn't gonna really change the way you think about it. The photo where I'm lying on the floor, when I look at it, it just reminds me about, you know, dreaming and like how much dreaming has gotten me and like how much dreaming has gotten me here, like where I am today. Even here in like a photo studio, you know, I got here because I was able to dream and then like make my dreams become a reality. And so when I see that, it's like a very vulnerable pose. It's like a child almost sleeping. And I'm just looking up at the sky, there's a window on me, and it's like almost I'm just off in my daydreams like I usually am. And yeah, I thought that was really beautiful. Some advice that I would have liked to get when I was younger is that like you're beautiful and you don't have to work so hard to make things work. If it's not working, let it be. Pursue the things that you want to pursue. Don't let outside voices dictate what you're going to do. Oh, that rhymed. Sorry, I'm off topic. But research, a lot of research. If you're interested in doing something, Google it. Sometimes it's just easy as that. We have technology that is amazing and incredible and can make you go far. Like just Google it. Google it, see the steps that you can do to get on that path and go on it. It's easy as that. I am Nyalinglat.
Awesome. Great job.
Yay!
That's a wrap.
It's a wrap.